My first week of grad school was a doozy. Even just the first day alone, let me tell you that. It is a story of freak snowstorms, accidents, errors, and the flu, but was still amazing enough that I would like to share it with all of you. Let's break down the good, the bad, and the basics of my first week of grad school. Welcome, friends, and thank you for joining Whoa to Whoa. I am so happy you are here and ready to jump into the world of mental health with me. In case you are new once again, I am your host, Savannah. I am currently in my master's in mental health counseling, and I am taking you along for the ride with me as I begin to understand anything and everything mental health. First things first. So about 2 weeks before classes actually start, I get access to my classwork. So being the studious little lady I am ready to get work done so that way I can get ahead. That's just not how it ended up playing out, unfortunately. My first week of classes were canceled because of a freak snowstorm. I say that, but actually I'm in Texas. So it was really about like an inch of snow, and it was cold. There was not a lot. It wasn't a freak snowstorm, but for us, it's about as freaky as it gets. The entire city shut down. They canceled my first week of classes, and I only had classes on Mondays and Tuesdays. So basically, I didn't have any classes that week. So I thought, wow, I'm getting a whole extra week to work on classwork and get ahead. Wrong. I was wrong. Not for the reasons you may think. My first day of classes rolls around, and I'm on my way to class. I'm nervous. I'm excited. I'm all the things, but I forget to purchase a parking pass. So I'm running late, trying to do it on my phone, in my car. Don't forget your parking pass, guys. It's the little things. Remember the little things. That crisis is over. I have my human development class, which is amazing. Very chill professor. I feel like I know what's going on in that class. I can see the semester unfolding before me in that class. My next class is theories in counseling. It is an online class that I originally thought was in person. So at this point, I'm a little annoyed, but it's okay. We're going to get through it. It's no one's fault. Just gotta figure it out. I also am at this point feeling pretty tired because it's 7 p.m. and this class runs until 9:45, so I'm in for the long haul. We start talking about the book and jumping into content because we don't really get a fun syllabus day since we had that snowstorm I referred to. My stomach drops as we're starting to talk about the content and about the book and all that good stuff because I realize I have been reading the wrong chapters. I read 3 of the wrong chapters, guys. And let me tell you, those chapters were intense. Like, it was taking me forever to get through these. I was wondering, what is going on? Like, maybe I just forgot how to read. I took a year and a half off between undergrad and grad school. I'm like, did I get that bad at reading? That was not the case. These chapters were nowhere near what I was supposed to be reading. And I blame it on my online book. It's set up super weird. So I have a complaint. I can't remember who the publisher is, but I'm going to make a formal complaint because it's set up silly. Anyways, so I basically read 3 of the wrong chapters. I go back and I start reading the 3 chapters I was supposed to. And of course, it makes a lot more sense than the ones I was reading. This is lesson number 1, guys. If something seems like it's wrong, say something, question it. Honestly, throughout all of your grad school experience, question everything. That's what it's about. So really question that. Make sure you're in the right place. Make sure you're learning the right things. And it's grad school. So in my head, I'm thinking, oh, like these chapters are really hard because it's grad school. And, like grad school is supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be stuff that you just genuinely cannot understand, guys. Don't know who needs to hear that. I needed to hear it, so I'm telling you. So all this unfolds, we finish class, and I'm leaving campus at like 9:45. Let's take a moment of silence for my sleep schedule. And I'm on my way home, and I have like a meltdown. Obviously, I'm upset because I read the wrong 3 chapters, but also I'm just having this weird meltdown that's like, I don't know, I'm just upset. So I do not feel good, and I don't know why. And I assumed it was just like the stress of my first day and these adjustments I'm making in my life. By the next day, I am still not feeling good. And I actually end up leaving work early to go to the doctor because I'm like, something is not right. It progressed super fast throughout that 24-hour period, honestly. And it turns out I had the flu. Go get your flu shot, guys. Go get it because it sucks. I'm down and out for like a full week at least. And in my flu haze, again, I attempt to do some work and get ahead. so that I'm not so behind, because I'm already behind, as we know. And once I'm feeling better, I go back and I look and I realize for a different class, I once again read the wrong chapters. So this is lesson number 2, guys. If you don't feel good, just rest. It's okay. You're going to catch up. You're going to figure it out. Just rest, because you may end up doing the wrong thing, which luckily it did come back around to me. Like, there was a week I didn't have to do reading because I already read it, even if I read it while I had the flu. But just make sure you're taking care of yourself. That was a huge takeaway from like my first week/month of grad school, is just chill out, take it as it comes, get what you need done, but don't forget to take care of yourself, because if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not getting anywhere. I know you love my little storytelling abilities that I'm showing off here, but we are going to get a little bit into some of the basics of my first semester of grad school and my first month of grad school. Let's start out with just the classes in general that I'm taking and why I'm taking them. The classes I'm taking are human development across the lifespan, theories in counseling, and research in counseling. I have 2 in-person classes and 1 online class. I work about 30 hours a week at a therapy private practice as an administrator, and then I tried to budget like 15 hours per week in my routine for studying, so roughly 5 hours per class. I will let you know as the semester goes on how my little study plan works out for me, because I know before I started school, I'm the type of person who's like, you do this, I want to know all the things. And there was just not a lot of people in my specific program talking about like what that type of studying looked like. So I do want to keep y'all updated on that. Let's go through some little like first impressions of each of my classes. I chose these classes simply because they were 3 out of the 4 classes I was allowed to take. So when I started my program, they said these 4 classes are prereqs for a lot of other classes. So your first semesters, you should be taking these. So I'm taking 3 out of 4 of those. And then next semester, I'll take the last one. The first class is my research and counseling class. I really love that professor. He's pretty chill. I did have a friend who did the program before, and she completely recommended him as a professor and said he was awesome. So I had no doubts. I felt pretty secure going into that class. I really like the layout of that class because it does feel like you're building in stages. Each week we have little like learning checks just on our reading. A lot of our assignments throughout the semester are culminating into our one big paper at the end. So it's a lot of building on top of each other, which I really appreciate. And then the reading for that class is pretty easy. I will say I'm a little biased because I did work in a research lab in undergrad. So I do have a little bit of experience with like statistics and some basics. The one thing I will say about this research class that kind of was an adjustment from undergrad and not necessarily what I expected was that this class really has a focus on how you're looking at research as a clinician. So we focus on a couple of big things. The first is just interpreting data and research on modalities and treatments so that you can understand them when you're utilizing them with your clients or trying to give your clients data to basically back up what you're doing. And then the second is program evaluations. Program evaluations is what it sounds like. It's a program evaluation. So basically how you use the scientific method to evaluate a program and its effectiveness and use that for stakeholders, what we would call stakeholders in that class. That may be your clients, or if you're in a school system, your administrators, or if you're just like a community program, the people who are funding that community program. So it is very much geared towards what I'm doing for counseling, and I appreciate that. I did some research in undergrad. I took stats, I took research, and I do like this practical application in this class as opposed to how I learned it before. And there are certain things where I'm like, oh, now I really understand what that means to me as a person just looking at this data for my real life. So very interesting. My next class is human development across the lifespan. The reading for this class is insane. You can't get around it with human development. Human development is such a dense topic. So it is very term heavy. It is taking you basically from birth to death. Not even birth, from conception to death of the human lifespan. This one is hybrid, so that's part of the reason it is so dense as far as the reading goes. So this class is an hour and a half. So you are expected to like basically have a little bit of extra work outside of the class to understand it a little better. As far as the class itself, I do like the engagement of it. I do like that the class itself is kind of used to gear the information we are learning towards the counseling field. We'll do little exercises basically to kind of relate what we're learning to working with clients. So it is a little bit different than like human development in undergrad. And I did talk to one of my coworkers who actually was like adjunct professor for another counseling program. And she said, "Oh, I just don't like the way that people usually teach human development." And I kind of told her about how my program was teaching it. And she was like, "I like that. Like, that's different. I feel like they don't teach it right for counselors." So far, very good feedback on this class from the people I've talked about it with. And then also for myself, I like this class. The reading is a lot. It's definitely an adjustment, but I do want to have kind of like an episode where I talk about my study style and my note taking and all that good stuff. And this class is a good example of that because it did change as the class went on. I've had to learn to adjust to the type of reading that I'm doing now. So my theories in counseling class, I've already chatted a little bit about. It is very heavy reading. The reading, though, is a little bit more ambiguous than my human development class because it's theories. So that makes a little bit more sense. Honestly, these are the readings I find myself most interested in when I'm reading. Just coming to understand these perspectives that built the field of therapy is very interesting to me. I also have been doing this fun thing where I'm trying to guess like what theories my therapist uses or has built like their therapy practices off of. So that's just something I'm doing on my own that I think is funny. But theories has been the most interesting class for me so far. I do feel like a lot of this season of Woe to Woe is going to be centered on a lot of what I'm learning in my theories classes because it does lay this kind of foundation for practice. Unlike some of my other classes, while they are important, these theories are like directly related to what you're going to be practicing in session with a client later on. Some less specific impressions of grad school. There is such a difference in professors, and this may be specific to my program, is something I will say. There's such a difference in how professors talk and go about things. You can tell they care about the topics and they care about creating helping professionals. And I think that's so incredible. And it's something I noticed from day one. They have a dedication and a commitment to this field and the program and to their students. I really enjoyed that. Something that has made a huge impact on me going into this program. And also part of the reason I chose to go to a program that's in person. And part of the reason I chose my program in general is just because it's a smaller program, smaller classes, and you can work more directly with your professors. The other thing I noticed and first impression I got is that I'm in a very privileged place. That's something I will say. I only work 30 hours a week, which is still a lot, but I only work 30 hours a week. I don't have any kiddos. My life is very routine. So I'm just adjusting to school, really. Whereas there's people who are coming from out of town just because they live in rural areas that don't have good programs. Or there's people who are working even more hours than me and still doing school. Or people who have kids and work and who are still doing school. So I'm in a very privileged place. And the reason I bring this up is because if you're listening to like the schedule I set up for myself for school and you're like, wow, I just don't think I have room for that in my life. I'm scared to go back to school and pursue something like this. There are people out there who are doing it. I'm not necessarily an example of that. And that's something I'll admit. But there are people out there who are making it work. And also I'm going to school full time, not part time. Part-time is always an option. There's so many different ways you can make school work for you if that's something you want to pursue. So that's my little note on that and just the different perspectives that I'm also gaining from my program. And then the big last little tidbit is that this content is so much more engaging than any of the content I got during undergrad. I really care about what we're learning about, obviously. And then since I do work in the field, it is fun to kind of like apply it to the work I'm already doing or talking to some of the therapists I work with. It's just so engaging in a way that I haven't experienced before. And it's so exciting to me to feel that engagement because while I have loved school in the past, some of the content, it's kind of like, I just need to get through this. I just need to get through this so I can graduate. This, I feel like I'm really taking it in. I'm sitting with it. It's changing me as a person because I'm reflecting on the things that I'm learning. And then it's also just going to build who I am as a therapist. And that's so exciting. That's super exciting. I've loved my first month of grad school so far, even with all the hiccups and the things that have happened. And I hope that this is a little bit of hope core for you guys to know that you can do it. Things are going to come your way. Things are going to happen, but you'll always bounce back. If you're following what you want to do, then It's going to be great. So that's all from me, guys. If y'all have any burning questions about my first kind of experiences with grad school, please drop them in the comments. I'd be happy to answer. If you have any episodes you kind of want to hear in the future about my program or looking for a program or any of that stuff, just drop it in the comments. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you soon.